Hey, what's going on? Welcome to English with Venya, where we level up and never look back. And today I would like to talk about something that's on everyone's mind all the time, and it's English tenses. Many English learners find them, well, difficult to remember and use. And my goal here today is to break it down for you, all of them. All of them at once. And hopefully after this video is done, you'll have a better understanding of what they do and how to use them. So let's get right into it. Let's start this video off with present tenses, more specifically, present simple. First, let's take a look at the formula, if you will. Subject plus verb. That's it. Very simple. We don't really modify the verb aside from your third person singular subjects, like someone's name, John, or he, she, it. We just add S to the verb. Aside from that, nothing fancy, nothing complicated. We use this tense typically for regularly performed actions, rituals, habits, routines, and we do so typically with adverbs of frequency, which, include but not limited to never, often, rarely, etc. We also use present simple for general statements and facts. The earth is round or flat, whatever you want to believe in. We can argue about it all day, but we cannot argue the fact that it's present simple. The sun is bright. That's present simple. That's just a general statement, general fact. I am a teacher. Present simple as well. I brush my teeth every morning, and so should you. But I brush my teeth every morning is present simple, and that is my routine, my habit, my ritual, an action that I perform at a certain type of frequency. I like pizza. That's my preference. A general fact about me. Present simple. I don't need help. That's present simple in a negative sentence. We use our auxiliary verb do and turn it into don't. Do you want to know more? That's a question in present simple. We take our auxiliary verb and put it in the first place. A quick disclaimer though, it's not always going to be do. Sometimes it could be be. And it could show up in different forms like am, is, or are, depending on your subject. And that would happen when the main focal point of the sentence is not a verb, but an adjective or a noun. I am a teacher. See, teacher is a noun, and that's the word that gets the most attention in the sentence, right? It's not an action. It's a title. It's a job, right? So that's why I'm using be and not do. Moving on. Present progressive or present continuous. Two different names. The same thing. The formula is the following. Subject, then we have our be in three different forms. Am, is, are. And then we have our verb in its ing form. And we use this tense for something that is currently taking place, like right now. I'm talking about right now. I am talking about right now. Or something that is taking place in your life currently. It doesn't have to be right this moment. Let me give you some examples. I am recording a video right now. You know what I mean? Versus I'm taking singing lessons this month. You know what I'm saying? I'm not actively taking a singing lesson at the moment, but it is something I'm doing at this present moment in my life. You know what I mean? So that's how we use present progressive. I'm not doing anything wrong, right? Something I'm not doing right now, but also present moment still. Right now. Am I speaking too fast? That's how you ask a question in present progressive. You just take our auxiliary verb, which is am in this case, and we put it in the first place. That's it. The next contender is present perfect, our favorite. Present perfect is not that difficult, but if you don't approach it in the right way, it could throw you off completely. So let me make something very, very clear before we start. As the name suggests, present perfect is a present tense. It is not past. It doesn't really have anything to do with the past. I'll explain more later. For now, let's look at the formula. Okay, we have our subject, then we have or has, depending on the subject. This should be pretty easy for you to figure out. It's a pretty basic thing to decide if we're using have or has. And then we have our verb in its third form, aka the past participle. Okay, so if it's a regular verb, you're gonna add ed, wait, waited. Or if it's a fancy irregular verb, you're gonna use the third form. For example, do, did, Done. Done is the one you're going to use. We typically use present perfect to talk about life experiences. We're not telling stories. We're talking about life experiences. It's those past actions or events that have a connection with the present, with right now. What kind of influence your past has on right now? That is the main point here. So if you say, I have already eaten, thanks, it doesn't mean I ate chicken at 3 o'clock with my mom. No, that's not what we're talking about here. We have past simple for that. What we're talking about here is right now, at this moment in time, I'm not hungry because of this one thing I did in the past. That's not important. The details are not important. What we care about here is right now. I haven't done this before. This is my life experience, or the lack of it. I haven't done this before, which means right now at this point in time, I have no experience with this. That's the main point here. Have you met Bruce? Right? I'm not talking about tell me a story of how you allegedly met Bruce, if you did. I'm talking about now. Do you know him? Do you know him? If you can think of it this way and actually utilize this approach, using it will be very easy for you. So just keep that in mind. And we're moving on to present perfect progressive or present perfect continuous. The formula is a bit complicated, but this is it on the screen right now. Subject plus have or has, again, depending on the subject, been, and verb in its ing form. Now, hear me out. This one we typically use for certain type of activities that you're involved in still, but you started it in the past and you still want to continue in the future. This is where we hit pause right now and kind of brag about the time that we spent doing this up until this moment right now, because it's a present tense, present perfect progressive. I have been teaching English for 7 years now. Now, 2 years ago was 5. 2 years from now, it'll be 9, if my math is right. But because it's present perfect progressive, present, we're talking about right now. Have you been waiting here all day? We're still focused on the present, but it is a continuous sort of action that takes all of this time from the past and kind of summarizes it to bring it to right now. Brand new launch date for Intermediate to Advanced, our revolutionary course, online course to learn English and level up, that has our legendary challenge mode, which means you can level up your English, compete, and win stuff. What? If you want to learn more info about when it starts, how we do it, and if it's even right for you, check out the link in the description. Now let's explore some past tenses, and we're gonna start with past simple. This is the formula. It's pretty simple. We have our subject and then our verb in its second form. And we use this tense to talk about specific points in the past. It is great for storytelling. You can always tell your stories in the present tense, like, so I go to the store and who do I see? You know what I mean? Or you could say, so I went to the store and who did I see? It's your choice, really. It doesn't really matter. But past simple is a great tense for storytelling. I went to the store and bought some croissants. Simple actions, nothing fancy. It's just simple, basic events that happened at some point in the past. They have no connection to right now. It's just a random story I'm telling you. You didn't call me yesterday. Did you forget? Very simple, but I'm sure you already know how to use this one. Let's move on to something more interesting, and it's past progressive or past continuous. Now, look at the formula. Pretty similar to present progressive, except for our be changes to its past versions, which is was or were. And we can use this one to set the scene in our storytelling. It's kind of like a lengthy action in the past that goes on while other smaller actions are taking place. I was walking to work when a giant alligator fell from the sky. You get the point. Here we have our long action, I was walking to work, that is interrupted by a shorter, more simple action, alligator fell from the sky. I have no idea why I went there. Were you hanging out with her yesterday? I'm just emphasizing that, it's a longer action. It's all about your focus and what you're trying to say, the message you're trying to deliver. So just keep that in mind. Past perfect. Past perfect is delightful. It's wonderful. And I'm not joking right now. It's real. Past perfect does something that nothing else can do. It has a very specific job, and that's why we keep it around, because no other tense can do it. The formula is pretty simple. It's subject plus had, and that doesn't change. And our past participle, verb in its third form. This is four fingers, I'm sorry. And we like to call this one past of the past. Think of present perfect, right? We already covered it. Present perfect is, our life experiences up until now. Something in the past that has a connection to right now. Well, past perfect is the same, but for the past. Something even further in the past that has a connection to something in the past. And this one is really good for explaining certain life experiences in the past for your storytelling. Once again, check this out. She wanted to get food with me, but I had already eaten prior to us meeting. You see what I did there? She wanted to get food with me in the past, but even deeper in the past, I had already eaten. So at that moment when she wanted to get food, I already had that life experience. You know what I mean? It's exactly the same as present perfect, just for past. I hadn't really thought about it back then. See, it's a moment that's only relevant for the past. Or let's say you're telling me a story about how 3 years ago you went to Paris. And I can ask you, well, instead of saying, was this your first time? I could also say, had you already been to Paris before? By then, you know what I mean? So that is perfect for those types of things. And past perfect can do it like no other. Past perfect progressive. Once you understand the present perfect progressive tense, all of the other ones are pretty easy. Present perfect progressive was for things so far. Past perfect progressive, logically, is for the time you spent on something by a certain point in the past. Let's look at the formula first. So we have our subject, we have our had, that doesn't change, been, and then verb plus ing. We use it to indicate that at a certain point in the past, you spent a certain amount of time on an action. Right now, I have been learning English, teaching English, for 7 years, right? So 5 years ago, I had been teaching English for 2 years. You see? Makes sense. Future simple. This is our formula. Subject, will, and our verb that doesn't change. Nothing changes about this at all, which is incredible for us. I love that for us. It's a very simple, almost like a spontaneous decision that you make about the future. You could also use it for predictions. Something that you think will take place in the future, but you're not too sure because it's not like a planned activity. I will call you. I just decided. I will call you. Will you tell me about it? Right? There's no entitlement. You can use a different version of future simple. You could think of it as a different version of future simple, which is for planned activities, or to be going to, right? And just check this out. The difference in tone. Will you tell me about it? I'm genuinely asking because I want to know. Will you tell me about it? But if I flip it and I say, are you going to tell me about it? Or are you going to tell me about it? It smells like entitlement. You have to tell me about it. And if you think you're not telling me about it, you're stupid. Are you going to tell me? You know what I mean? So that's the difference right there. And that was future simple for you. Future progressive or future continuous. There is no specific, intricate ways to use it or reasons to use it other than this is what I'm doing in the future and it'll be long. The formula is subject plus will be, and none of that changes, which is great, and then verb plus ing. Literally, this action in the future will take some time. This is the focus here. So instead of saying, I'll do my homework tonight and it'll take me some time, you can just say, I will be doing homework tonight. Don't call me, don't text me, I'll be doing homework tonight. It's just a longer version of that simple action. Do not overthink it. That's all it is. Future perfect Oh, do we love this one? The answer is yes, we do. Okay, this is the formula. Subject, will have, and that will never change, which is incredible. And then our past participle. Think of present perfect, but in the future. Present perfect is for life experiences, right? Up until now. Future perfect is for life experiences by then. Life experience you don't have yet, but it's fun to talk about it. It's fun to talk about the future. She invited me to dinner at 9 p.m. The problem is, I will have already eaten and fallen asleep by then. You see what I'm doing here? You see what I'm doing? Will your parents have left by the time I come over? You see what I'm doing? You see what I'm doing here? It's important. Just play around with it and try to create your own context that you can relate to, and I promise you it'll get way easier. And the last one for the day, future perfect progressive. Very easy. First of all, look at the formula. Pretty lengthy, but you can figure it out. Subject, will have, been, verb plus ing. This one is just like all the other present progressive tenses, talking about time spent on a certain action, but in the future. You know, it's a certain type of experience, I guess, as well, that you don't have yet. How much time you will spend on a certain activity at a certain point in the future. It's fun to think about that. When I turn 50 years old, I will have been teaching English for 31 years. I teach English, not math. Sorry. Today was my first day going to the gym. A year from now, or this time next year, I will have been working out for a year. Simple, doesn't really make sense, but that's a really good example to understand what we're dealing with here. And this is it. This is everything you need to know, and now it's in your hands. Go ahead and practice. This is the most important thing. You have to apply all this stuff to your life, or pretend like you're applying it to your life. If you don't live in an English-speaking country, you still have to create, the environment around you in your, little bubble where you can practice English on your own or with a friend. But please take all this information and do something with it. That's the only way to make it stick. You know what I mean? Thank you so much for subscribing, and thank you so much for being here. This is English with Venya, where we level up and never look back. I am very excited to put this video out because, we just broke down 12 tenses in one video. If you enjoy the content that I make, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, give it a thumbs up. It supports the channel. It does great for the algorithm. And most importantly, it puts me in a great mood. A great mood to create more stuff and teach you more stuff. All right, see you in the next one.